What's up guys? Recently I just won 2 ICSs by the remote duo ICS from Latin America with Charlemagne's and ICS Rio playing the Snake Eyes Castira. And then I was thinking to myself, what are the keys that lead me to the success on the recent events? And this is a video where I'm gonna explain all my preparations for events, like everything I make to get myself prepared for a new event. I hope you guys find this usable and I hope this can help you guys to do well in your next events. But that being said, let's talk about the 3 pillars of how to be prepared for ICS, or as the title say, how to win ICS. The first very important thing we have to do for an event is to decide which deck we are going to play, and by that we need to evaluate our options. Of course, if you are missing everything on the format and you have no idea from what is happening, a very good way to look at the format is try to look for good content creators and look their opinions. For example, this is a tier list just made by Jess Cotton, where he shows his thoughts about like Tempai, Snake Eyes, Snake Eye Castira, and a plenty of decks that should be decent options for entering an event. And when you are going to choose your deck for an event, of course, sometimes, like myself on ICS Rio, I had the previous information of the Snake Eyes Melodious deck. A friend of mine was testing it, and we were talking about how good this deck could be. So we had this deck outside of the metagame that was a very possible option to be played. But when you are going to play a new deck, a deck that is a recent one, a deck that doesn't exist, or a deck from new collections, this is a very important point. A lot of people will not know how to interact against you. This was the same case, for example, with the Vanquish Soul strategy for the Castira format. Like, the deck was recent, the deck was okay, the deck was good, but the main advantage that you could get with your Vanquish Soul at that moment was that no one knows how to play against them. And this could be also the same to play the Melodious Snake Eye. If you are testing a new deck for a new event, and people will sometimes misplay against you, but this isn't now, because if you go further, if you go into your top cut, for example, you are gonna get to play against better players, and those better players are better prepared for these new decks, because they also are trying new strategies, they are also trying to play Melodious Diva, for example. And this is very important. You have to choose. You wanna make a deck to perform well in rounds, or you wanna make a deck to perform well in top cut. And those kind of things are very different between themselves. Because if you wanna make a deck that is good for top cut, your deck should be more focused on the high level of the metagame. For example, on the actual format, you need to have a deck more focused on win against Snake Eyes. But if you wanna go through the rounds easily, should be fine if you make a deck that is kinda worse against Snake Eyes, just a bit worse against Snake Eyes, but mainly better against another options of the format like Tempai Dragons, for example. And this is a very important key part. When you are going to decide your deck, you are probably just picking one of the top picks. You are probably just taking Tempai, Snake Eyes, or Snake Eyes Castira. There is nothing very realistic to play, for example, Voiceless Voice. Even though you can be a very good Voiceless Voice player, the deck isn't strong enough to take you alongside to the tournament, to take you further in the tournament. So you are probably just gonna choose something what the Jess Cotton here is calling by the dominant forces. And for the example of this video, let's pretend we choose to play the Snake Eyes, because, okay, the Snake Eyes is 100% for now the best decision for the format. The best way to play a deck for the format right now, the best deck to play right now in the format is the Snake Eyes. So after we choose, okay, we are gonna play the strongest deck, how should we proceed? Okay, so first of all, on my decision of my deck, I had the information of the Melodious Snake Eye deck. And even though this deck is very strong and Ostinato is one of the most broken cards in this game, I had some problems with this deck that made me don't want to play it. For example, even though the Ostinato is broken, the Melodious cards aren't that good. Like, you are playing a Couplet and a Melodious Concerto, those 2 cards are very bad, and the combos that you can make with just Reframe aren't as strong as the Ostinato combos, and this made me feel like, okay, maybe this isn't the approach I wanna take with the deck. So, okay, I'm definitely going to play the Snake Eyes deck. This should be what a base of a Snake Eyes deck look like. We are playing triple bonfires, triple wanted, triple jabel stars, and all the cards you need to play your basic Snake Eyes deck. There are probably no reason to take out Ash Blossoms, Impermanence, Effect Veilers, and Ghost Mourners. Those cards are like as much solid as the Snake Eye Ash in this deck, because they are the best interactions right now in the format. And even though you can try to discuss, oh, maybe this card isn't that good, or maybe Ghost Mourner isn't that good, there is no reason to avoid the base of the deck, because if everyone who has been playing this deck for a long time is still playing this, they are probably right about this. Don't try. It's very good thing if you go and look and with critical ways to think, okay, maybe is this that good, is this that good, but there is no reason to don't play these cards. So let's pretend this is the base we are going to use for our deck. How should we define the last cards? Like, why are the Snake Eyes playing, for example, 42 to 43 cards? And what cards should be the 10, 11 cards you're gonna play? Your side deck, how you're gonna fill your side deck? How you're gonna use the last 3 spots of your extra deck? A first good way to look into the cards to do so is looking into your meta call. Meta call is what you think you are gonna play on your event. A good way to do so is to look which decks are performing well. This is a spreadsheet that is made by Ivan Campos, and this spreadsheet is super useful to look into what the meta right now looks like. For the week 4, for example, we have Snake Eyes, Tempais, and then Voiceless Voices in a very, very small portion. The main reason of this metagame is being divided by Snake Eyes and Tempais, and this should be your focus. And then we can also see how this is performing in the total of all the weeks of this current format. We have Snake Eyes, we have Tempais, and then in another way to play, we have the Voiceless Voice with like half of the numbers of Tempai and like a third of the numbers of the Snake Eyes. But okay, you should also look that these results are not just from big events. There are a few small events here that could give you more odds to play bad decks, like for example Altergeist. But Altergeist made a top cut in the Europe, South Iceland. This is like really good to look. You should just look for like the high scene. You just look from upside to see, okay, what the meta kinda looks like. But it's also important to you to try to discover for your event what the most of players are gonna play. If your event is an event with a lot of good players, they are probably just playing Snake Eyes. If you're playing a more rogue level event, they are probably going for a lot of Tempai Dragons, and the way you are gonna build your deck depends on that. We separated here many of the good opportunities, the good cards that you could play in your deck. For example, the people are playing 43 cards, and they are usually playing 15 to 17 hand traps. So which should be the hand traps you are gonna play here? We could discuss about Draw, we could discuss about Nibiru, we could discuss about Ghost Ogre. You could use not hand traps, you could go for Talents, you could go for Forbidden Droplet, and it all depends on your meta call. It all depends on what you're gonna expect to play against on this kind of events. For example, if you are willing to play in a more rogue level event, playing against more Tempai Dragons, playing against more Voiceless Voices, for example, Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit should be an amazing card to do so. Should be an excellent card to play through this kind of field, because there is a very good card that is not that good against the Snake Eye strategy, even though it's getting better right now. It's not that good as a Draw Lockbird against the Snake Eyes Kashira and the Snake Eyes Melodious. It's not as good as Nibiru paired up with any of the hand traps you are already going to use. So that's a very important decision. So first you evaluate what you are going to expect to play against, and then with this in mind, you make your deck to play against those kind of matchups. There is another very important thing is, which variant of Snake Eyes are we supposed to play? We can play the pure version with a Jazz Synchron, and this will let us to get into Omega Dispater and Herald of Arclight, a very good way to play. But this isn't very good if your opponents are all playing hand traps, because it's very hard to think this combo will get through. And then if you are playing the Kashira version, the ceiling of this deck isn't as high as the ceiling of the version with the synchro cards, but it is a very better deck to play against hand traps, because Unicorn by itself ripping out cards from your opponent extra deck helps you a lot to play in those matchups, and this card gives you a lot of value. And also for here, for example, those cards gives you a lot of value when playing against hand traps, because them by themselves are very strong ones. They can also be useful to play around boards. If your opponent gets to play Apollousa, for example, and you just summon a Kashira, the Apollousa is out. Your opponents, you will not be able to keep the Apollousa on field, and this is very important in a long-term run tournament. So if you are expecting to play against more rogues, against, for example, Flanders and things like that, I think the Jet Synchro build will be 100% better for you. But if you are expecting to play against a more localized meta game, like for example an ICS event against a lot of good players with Snake Eyes and base strategy, I think the Kashira version and the pure version with Crossout Designator are the two better options you can do at this point. And with that, you need to choose. Do you want to make Crossout Designator versions are way better into pure mirror matches, but the Kashira version is better into hand traps and better into a lot of rogue strategies also. It's the perfect mix of a deck being good against rogues and deck being good against the main deck of the format, that is the Snake Eye strategy. So that's what you have to look when you're choosing your engine. And then we have also to choose how we are gonna build your side deck, because if your main deck is going to play very strongly against Snake Eyes, your side deck should respect more a bunch of other matchups. It's also fair to play a few of going first cards, like for example Talents and Deck Lockdown, or maybe Talents and Skill Drain. But you also have to respect another kind of decks, for example the stun decks, for example the Voiceless Voice strategy, the Tempai strategy. So the choices you are gonna make with your side deck, it's a lot dependent on what your main deck looks like. Because if your main deck is very prepared for one, your side should respect more another one. And then you can do this mix between how you are choosing. And another thing is very important before going into an event is try to have your side deck patterns fixed on your mind, because you don't want to go to an event and lose a round because, oh my god, I accidentally sided out Snake Eyes Jabal Star and I missed the card. So try it out a lot, and then make your side deck, okay, against Voiceless Voice, my main deck feels like it's alright, but against Voiceless Voice, I need to take out the Flamberge, I need to take out Mourner, I need to take out Veiler, because just as examples, okay? So you are gonna count, okay, I need to take out 6 cards of my main deck to my side deck. Then you have to play 6 cards in your side deck that are better than the options you currently have to play against the Voiceless Voice in this case. And with that being said, this is a very important thing that people don't take seriously, but think well on your side deck. There are a bunch of cards that are very good against one matchup. And sometimes there are cards that are decent to good in a lot of matchups. And a bunch of times, if this matchup you are going to play is not that strong, is not as popular as the main deck, it's better for you to play a more decent or overall card. Like for example, Talents is very decent against everything. Dimensional Barrier is absolutely insane against Voiceless Voice and Tempai Dragon. But Triple Tactical Talents is also good for your side deck patterns when playing the mirror match and going first. So that's why you're probably gonna choose your Triple Tactical Talents. And a very important thing on this is also the way you're gonna play your extra deck. For example, we go the Dispata Omega, we go for the Hope Harbinger, and what the useful cards we're gonna use on the last spots. Let's pretend we use the Hope Harbinger here and on the Kashira version of the Dracosark. What could be your last card in your extra deck? It could be Typhoon, it could be Pit Knight, it could be any of the rank ones you're gonna play, and this is all up to you by your decisions and by your training to decide which one is the better option. And just a little hint I can give you guys, but the math doesn't mean anything. Like, there is no things like 40 cards is always correct. Yeah, it's good to see a 40 versus 40 cards decks, but if you are playing, for example, let's pretend we are playing a 43 cards deck with 17 hand traps. The odds of drawing one is 93%, and the odds of drawing 2 of them are 66%. And then let's pretend we just wanna go for 40 cards and then we take out 3 hand traps out of our deck. Then we are gonna play 14 hand traps in 40 cards. Our odds of drawing 2 hand traps went down in 8%. So you have to make the math, and then how much go up your odds of drawing your brick cards, of drawing your Snake Eyes Jabal Star, of drawing your Flambridge. So use the math in your favor. There is no such thing like a rule. You should play this amount of cards. This is the correct one. Go look for the math for yourself and try to look for what fits better for what you think is the correct answer, and this will help you a lot. And for the last thing, your technical play is also very, very important. It's so important to you to get the cards in your hand, to get your cards in an online simulator, and then play a lot. Because even though if you study a lot from other content creations, if you watch a lot of other people playing, we will know, okay, this is the best spot to hand trap, this is the best spot to negate, but there are some kind of situations that just appear when you are playing by yourself. And it's very important to you to have your plays, just like they should be fixed here, should be pinned here on your brain, and you should know by doing them with closed eyes. You should be able to do your plays with closed eyes, because if you don't do so, when you are going for the last rounds of the event, or even for a top cut, you could feel the pressure under you. You could feel the pressure of being, oh my god, I'm performing so well, and then you miss your combo and you lose for any of your opponents that shouldn't be able to win that matchup anyway. So that's very, very important. I think those three are all the 3 pillars of being a good Yu-Gi-Oh player and how to prepare well for an event. First, decide which deck you're gonna play. Second, try to make your deck the better as possible. And third, play a lot, because you need to have all the situations possible already resolved in your brain, in your mind. You have to be able to play around everything about all the cards with just like, oh, okay, I know this line because I tried it when we were testing for this event. And this is the most important thing to do well after the event. If you liked the video, give me a like. If you can, please subscribe and share this channel with friends, family, with your aunt, with your mom, with everyone. With that being said, goodbye and see you next video.